Now, right from the start, the COVID pandemic divided people around the world into two groups. Not the infected and the uninfected. That was never going to happen because we were all going to catch it one day anyway. No, the pandemic divided us into those who value their freedom and those who don't. You didn't need a PhD in liberal philosophy to recognise the signs Western governments were making way back in February and March 2020. By then, we already knew that the virus was most dangerous to the elderly. People aged under 60 were of almost no risk at all. Yet the response from our governments was to lock us up, as if we couldn't be trusted to manage our own health. The official response also had a frightening appearance of being globally coordinated. Before we knew it, we were locked in our homes and paid not to work, despite the fact that work, to most people, is one of the main things providing them with purpose and meaning in life. Dissenting voices, even from world-class epidemiologists, were censored, and cheap forms of medical cures were discredited. As if from nowhere, vaccines were touted as the only way out. Everybody just needed to get jabbed. The idea that we could instead treat those who caught the virus was categorically dismissed. This was the moment when the media, armed with the freedoms that previous generations died defending, should have proved its profound and central role in our liberal democracy. Instead, it failed dismally. Previously, authoritative newspapers and broadcasters became shills for Big Pharma, one of the most heavily fined and criminal industries in corporate history, who made billions from the illusion that healthy people needed to be jabbed with an experimental drug to protect them from a mostly harmless virus. Politicians, who seem drawn to the profession these days because they have delusions of superiority, pushed for harder and harder lockdowns, almost as if they wanted to punish their constituents. I attended the first major rally in Sydney in July last year, when tens of thousands of fed-up ordinary Australians filled the length of Broadway from City Road to Town Hall. It was one of the happiest, most multicultural events I've ever attended. But Premier Gladys Berejiklian was, quote, disgusted by the rally. She said we had, quote, shown utter contempt for fellow citizens who are currently doing it tough, unquote. Well, they were doing it tough, all right, because of the pointless lockdowns, not the virus. Two factors emerged as making the virus worse: being overweight and having a lack of vitamin D, which you get from exposure to sunlight. But not one politician anywhere in the world told people to get the hell off their couches, switch off Netflix, and go out and get some bloody exercise. I walked past an outdoor gym in a park in Sydney where the council had hung a sign saying, quote, use this park at your own risk, unquote, as if being outdoors and exercising was dangerous. The sign should have said, don't use this park at your own risk. But that's the state of politics these days. Politicians don't want independent, fearless citizens. They want compliant cogs in their visionary machine where they control the levers. Similarly, the multi-trillion-dollar medical industry doesn't want us to think we are healthy. They want us to think we are just sick enough to be filling out their prescriptions and rolling up our sleeves for their experimental jabs. I'm proud to say that the day police shut Bondi Beach for the first time in March 2020, I was the first person to cross the police tape and paddle out to go surfing. On one occasion, I crossed a state border illegally to spend time with my dying mum, a criminal act for which I am prouder than Ned Kelly, but not as guilty. Harsher restrictions prevented me from visiting her one last time as she faded away, and I couldn't attend her funeral, watching it instead on Zoom. I can't claim anything special here. Other people had their lives, businesses, or families destroyed by the lockdowns and are still picking up the pieces. Some people's lives will never recover. The heartless bastards who imposed all this on us never did a cost-benefit analysis of their policies. They just claimed moral authority to ruin lives and vilified anybody who disagreed with them, even criminalising debate. So afraid were they of the voiceless being given a voice. The true cost was always going to be high and impossible to deny. The Telegraph in London reported on the weekend that, quote, for 14 of the past 15 weeks, England and Wales have averaged around 1,000 extra deaths a week, none of which are due to COVID, unquote. They were instead caused by delay and deferment of treatment for other illnesses while people were locked up. The toll in Australia will surely be similarly alarming. Nobody involved can claim they were misled. Common sense could have told them their lockdowns and vaccine mandates were not the answer and would cause more harm than good. We don't need a royal commission into this. We need criminal trials. Now, coming up next, my interview with Lyle Shelton, who is defending the most important free speech legal case in Australia right now.